Good afternoon, YTPC. It's about 4 o'clock. The light will be fading very quickly now. And everything was white this morning, so a bit more snow has arrived and probably won't go away for a long time now. Here I am in the shed of serenity, and I've returned to my good friend here, Christmas cheer, because it's so incredibly good, you know. Left it out in the shed, it got a bit cold. It was probably taking a couple of lights to get going. Curious if any of the shedders out there know if it's bad for the tobacco to be sub-zero for any period of time. I wouldn't have thought so, because it tends to preserve organic things, and as long as your jar is sealed and it's not too wet, the low temperature probably won't do it any harm, I would have thought, but I'm not so sure. So maybe some of you got experience, because the ideal storage temperature is often described as, like with wine, about 12-15 degrees, but going higher of course dries it out, or may not be good for it. But what about low temperatures? Some people I've heard actually put their tobacco in the freezer for the long term. Might make sense if you want to keep it 20 years, I don't know. Well, this video I wanted to say a Merry Christmas and a shout out to my good friend Mike. Mike runs a store of estate pipes, which I've shown several in the past. PP&M. He makes YouTube videos about them in great detail, and has an eBay shop called Bears7, BARRS7. I'll leave links to both his YouTube video and the eBay shop below. Well, it's a bit like Fedhead Ed, who does American pipes so extremely well. Mike does European pipes extremely well, and sure enough, I was looking about a month ago at some of his pipes, and this one from Hilson. Well, Hilson is an old Dutch pipe make, and it's a beautiful dark blue. You can't really see it here. I'm going to have to think out a lighting solution in this shed, but maybe just get this lovely dark blue stain. And a nice nickel, I think it's a nickel band, and a lovely big bowl, very elegant looking straight pipe, I think, which I got for I think it was about $40. In eBay offers, you know, you have a chance to make an offer if you want to, you know, make a bid, or you can buy it straight off. Even his straight off prices are pretty reasonable. Of course, all cleaned up and looked over, fit for sale. And most of his pipes he sells are near mint condition, or very good at least. You know, of course you'll see the odd little tiny dent here or whatever showing it was a used pipe, and some of these pipes are a little bit less expensive if they're maybe a little less perfect than others. But he does a great choice of fantastic European pipes of all kinds and all eras. And some of course Dunhills, and the more expensive ones, they are going to cost more, because some vintage makes are almost more than they cost today, you know, because the briar was better then, or people say they were better made back then. And others are more easy to find and not so rare. This particular one I paid, I think it was about $40. His prices are in US dollars, so very clear to work out what they cost, and his shipping costs are only about $15, so that's very good for you know, takes a little while, but they've always arrived, and you know, never any issues. And I'm usually lucky with his pipes that I don't get lumped with customs. I must have bought 3 or 4 now of his pipes, and I really think, again, on the topic of estate pipes, if you love them and you love the styles and diversities and looks that you can't maybe find now, and you're interested in the history, I was looking on Pipedia about Hilson, an old Dutch family. Of course it went through the usual takeovers, and one person took ownership of it and they moved the factory, but this one was actually made in the Holland plant. They had a plant in the Flemish Dutch part of Belgium initially, and then it moved to Holland, and this one came from there because it's 9mm. I think his videos are excellent, where he really shows every nook and cranny, so what you see is what you get, and just really interesting pipes. And you can ask him sometimes about the history, because he takes a lot of interest in and has lots of books on the past, and sometimes I'm researching it and have an exchange, which I did, for example, on the Machiavelli pipes. You remember those? Where I also got them from him. So here's to you, Mike. A Merry Christmas to you, sir. And I'm sure this won't be the last pipe I'm getting from you. Although I have to slow up. My collection got so big I wasn't sure where to put them, so I got another little pipe rack from Peter Roman in I think he's in Fulton, not far from Zurich, and he actually got some very nice teak 4 pipe stands for about maybe 35 francs, which, you know, Switzerland tends to be everything expensive, but it's not so bad. That price, sent in the post, so then it's almost a good price for teak. And I put that now in one of my little pipe enclosures. I've got 2 squares on the bookshelf, so one of these box bookshelves, and I've got 2 of those boxes for my pipe stuff. Negotiated with my wife, and you know, you buy a house and you think, great, I've got lots of room for everything, but anyway, modus vivendi was achieved. But even so, that's part of your problem, isn't it? You can't expand forever, and you don't want to sort of put them in a suitcase in the attic, do you? You need to have them somewhere handy. So I have a lot in a couple of drawers, and I have maybe 20 or so accessed in pipe racks, and then it gives me a reasonable choice. 1 or 2 are always in the cleaning loop. I've got a few in the other place where I'm going next week, in the southern Switzerland. So, you know, but I must say I do have almost enough for any occasion now. So Why this one, you say? I've got a blue dinner jacket, and this dark midnight blue with this silvery ring here fits very nicely with that, and so it's again kind of dress pipe that I will use on those occasions, but just wanted to show it off here. Got some church music on this time, some good old Christmas carols, you know. Can't get over this tobacco. I did expect a heavily, very long enrichment from, of course, being so old, and only does Virginia's good, and Christmas cheer is pure Virginia, but it's incredible. The lesson for me is, you know, good tobaccos, you can get a huge number of tastes out just by how they're treated and prepared and aged. I suppose everybody knew that, but it sort of drove it home in my head. Went out for lunch today with my wife. There's a little cafe that does lunches, and they're still going. We've got restrictions now on evening opening of restaurants, very sadly, but you can still go out for lunch, and they do a very simple 1 or 2 menus, that's it, and it was just a nice treat for us. I think it's a good idea to do that sometimes with your better half, you know, or a friend or whatever. Just go and have a lunch, you know, maybe 1 small glass of wine with that as a treat. I notice I don't have quite the acoustics of the Albert Hall or the Royal Festival Hall in London. Used to like to go to concerts there when I was living in England, and when I visited the UK, London had marvellous. One of the best ones I used to go regularly when I was there was St Martin in the Fields, an old church on Trafalgar Square. And they did candlelight concerts, concertos, and all the best classical Vivaldi and Bach and Handel and Mozart. And sadly, of course, that's a thing of the past, and I hope again they will survive into next year, that we can go again to London and enjoy those things. I suppose for all of us, you know, it's going out a little bit, as much as we can have this music at home through our iPhones and iPads and whatever, streaming, but it's never quite the same, is it, to go out and be a group of people listening to something live. I'm pleased to see some people making their first videos today, which was great, and some who have been away. Mr. Smurfanelli, welcome back, old mate, you've been sorely missed, are reappearing. So you know, it's really good, and I do encourage people who've never made a video, you know, if you've got an iPhone, you can do it, and just do a sort of 10-15 minute little chat, or show a few of your pipes, or talk about your favourite tobaccos. That's fine, you know, and you're off, you know. Because I always learn from a lot of new people who come up and suddenly show me something they do, or how they store their tobacco, or ones they've suddenly tried, and or how they pack a pipe, and there's always things you learn, you know. So someone doing a first video may have been smoking for a while and picked up a lot, and some people, even if they've only been doing it for a year, they've still learned stuff that I somehow haven't, and I always like to subscribe to them, because I go and look at their playlists and their videos, and sometimes they've got very interesting collections there of presenters that I never knew about, and sometimes on not pipe smoking, different topics. So it enriches the community and the collective, if you like, accumulation of knowledge and interest fields becomes incredibly dense and rich and fruity and flavorful. Oh, not fruity maybe, but flavorful and interesting. All of my playlists are public, and I have some on ambience music and Christmas and Halloween and classics and jazz and swing, and but a lot of topics on my pistols, for example, and they're open to anyone who wants to have a look at them. And did anyone see the launch of the SpaceX, which was very pleasing to see, all until, of course, the landing. When it kind of blew up, but according to what I've heard, they actually got all the data they needed, and the idea of an unmanned test, of course, is to see what they haven't thought of or what could go wrong, and then better now that problem happened than later on with a manned flight. So, but still quite amazing that it went up and then did its belly flop and coasted down, and then was basically going to land on its boosters, as it were, which is a kind of... Did any of you ever watch Space Patrol? It was a puppet program. I think it was in America as well. And it was a lovely program. I was maybe 4 or 5 when I used to watch it, and there the rockets, of course, used to land that way. And then after Apollo and everything, everyone laughed and said, you know, I had no idea. And here we are, landing rockets like that. It's incredible, don't you think? Just like in the old science fiction films of the 50s. Talking about Jeffrey Alton Carter, Renaissance Piper. There's another example of fantastic playlists. Jeff, if I may mention you, and I guess a number of your playlists are public, he's got a most fantastic collection of great science fiction films from the 50s. The Invasion of the Neptune Men. And then they knew how to build those costumes for aliens with big heads and eyes, and they always captured the pretty girl and took her off to their cave, didn't they, or to their spaceship. And you thought, well, what are they up to there? It's a bit bestial, you know, but I mean, of course, you know, they're old films and sometimes a little bit shaky storylines, but great fun, entertaining to watch, and you should have a look at his playlist as one example. You know. Okay. Well, not to ramble on, I just thought I'd show you my new Hilson. Very happy with this. Sweetness and rich dark fruit. Well, you take care, everyone out there, and enjoy yourselves. I'll do maybe one or two more videos before I relocate myself, and tell you about some other curious things. Cheers everyone then. Bye bye.